Hey everybody, it's Josh Ronquist here for the Heavy Debriefings YouTube channel. Here to bring you another edition of Out Today and What I Missed, this time for September 5th, 2025. This week we have 30 brand new albums for you to be able to check out, with 12 that are out today and 18 that I missed along the way. September is arguably the biggest month, at least so far in 2025 when it comes to new music, and I can't wait to show off as much as I can for you. Let's get into it. First up, we have Ambush with Evil in All Dimensions. The fourth album from the Swedish heavy metal and revival metal band feels so good to the musical soul. It's everything you love about that mid-70s through early 90s heavy metal sound, but with just enough updated production to hit you at full force. Everyone shines on this album, whether they're going full guns blazing, more mid-tempo, or simply showing off their abilities in a musical way, and not in a wanky way. 9 songs, almost 41 minutes of pure heavy metal. I simply can't sell it better than that. Whether you love Judas Priest, Enforcer, Early Day Striker, or Steelwing, Ambush is the band for you. Next up, we have Bless the Fall with Gallows. Real talk, I have not checked out this band since I saw them live in 2008, opening for Avenged Sevenfold, Bullet for My Valentine, and Atreyu on the Taste of Chaos tour. I can't believe it's been that long. And it's only been in recent times that I've given anything past second wave metalcore in this style a chance, as I finally let go of my inhibitions and realized that I should just like the music that I like. That's why my weekly lists are so frickin' diverse in heavy music. Seeing that I got the 7th album from this Arizona band, I figured I should give them a shot again, and I'm really glad that I did. While I remember enjoying their debut album, 2006, His Last Walk, this was before giving them a real proper shot like I would have now. The band is considerably grown over the last 19 years and easily for the best. The heaviest parts are even heavier than before, the poppy moments are catchier than ever and more present, and the songwriting, while being diverse and expansive, is still cohesive and it all makes sense. The production is rich and full and helps add some extra power that helps to the enjoyment. Overall, this is an album that I know won't be for everyone, but if you want to venture into what can be done with metalcore, alternative metal, post-hardcore, and modern metal from a band that's been going for nearly 2 decades now, check out Bless the Fall in 2025. Now we have Condition Critical with Degradation Chamber. The third album from this New Jersey thrash band is some incredible love letter to the past and present of thrash. While so much of the band you can hear influences of bands like Creator, Slayer, and especially Demolition Hammer, you can also hear nods to bands like Warbringer, Municipal Waste, and Power Trip. I will never feeling like a ripoff. The production pounds and it feels so satisfying. The songwriting is deeply inspired, and I can only imagine the kind of pits this will induce in a live setting. 9 songs, almost 34 minutes long, and it still leaves you wanting more. If that's what you want in your thrash metal, make sure to check out Condition Critical. Now we have Cult Burial with Collapse of Pattern, Reverence of Dust. The third album from this UK duo pushes the boundaries of what can be done in blackened death doom. The album is grim and full of terror from beginning to end. Whether they get near funeral doom territory or they go full-blown chaos, the band has this style down and they know how to manipulate it to the best of their abilities. The production is clear, but can also be overwhelming with the extreme sound presented. It can go from My Dying Bride to Portal on the flip of a switch, and it never feels out of place. Cult Burial is for anyone who's looking for pure brutality, no matter the tempo. You're not going to find an album quite like this in 2025. Next up, we have Falling Leaves with The Silence That Binds Us. The sophomore album from this melodic death doom band feels like it was tailor-made for my taste. It hits everything you love about the genre, from the tear-jerking melodic moments to the depressing lyrics to the overall atmosphere that is unparalleled by anything outside the genre. The production is outstanding, but of course, when it is mastered by Dan Swano, it's going to be. This is easily a contender of the year for best melodic death doom album, without question. If you want a mix of Woods of Ypres, November's Doom, and Swallow the Sun, you need to check out what Falling Leaves is all about. Next up is Gallahorn's Wrath with The Silver Key. Symphonic black metal is in short supply in 2025, but thankfully, when we get it, it is always of pure quality. The debut album from this international band has blown me away with its authenticity and prowess. This album knows when to lead you on with a seductive symphonic touch, and then go in for the kill with its brutality. The vocals are a unique touch for the genre as they feel closer to death metal growls, while still having those black metal screams as well, which makes the band stand out amongst the rest. It gives me reminders of bands like Karak Ingren, Dimmu Borgir, Septic Flesh, and even Emwa when it gets to its most primal. This is a sophisticated album that has no problem showcasing all the extremes that they can accomplish. If you need your fix of symphonic black metal, check out Gallahorn's Wrath. Now we have Green Carnation with A Dark Poem, Part 1, The Shores of Melancholia. One of my all-time favorite bands has returned with their 7th album and first in a new trilogy. The band has always explored new territories in sound, and back in 2020 they put out my favorite album of the year with Leaves of Yesteryear. 5 years later, did they do the same thing? Well, I can't say, at least not yet. You'll have to come back for my top 100 albums of 2025 to find that out. But what I will say is this is one of the finest progressive metal albums of the year, and of course they add their touch of gothic and other elements to the sound to make you tug on your heartstrings and rip your soul apart from all of its sadness. Of course, this is going to happen when you have past and present members of Emperor, In the Woods, Tristania, Trail of Tears, and Silent making gorgeous music together. The production is grand and it feels so evenly layered, while the songwriting just flows perfectly from start to finish. It's just the kind of album you need to experience to comprehend, and I highly recommend you do so if you enjoy the gothic, doom, progressive, and heavy sides of music. Again, this is the first album of 3, and all of that should be wrapping up by around this time next year, and I'm eagerly awaiting to see what parts 2 and 3 have in store for us when they eventually release. Until then, this will continue to have constant rotation for me and remain one of my favorite albums of 2025. Next up, we have Nailed to Obscurity with Generation of the Void. It's been quite the wait since 2019's Black Frost, but thankfully this German band has returned with their 5th album, and it's the haunting beauty I hoped it would be. Being a longtime fan of the band, they hit this perfect blend of melodic death doom in the vein of Swallow the Sun, Insomnium, and In Mourning, but especially on this album, you hear more melodeath moments that remind me of bands like Dark Tranquillity and In Vain, which makes the album that much more varied, and especially very enjoyable. Mixing things up to be a little bit catchier was the right choice, and it makes for a dynamic experience that couldn't be more enjoyable from start to finish. Nailed to Obscurity is one of the most underappreciated bands in melodic death doom, and I truly hope with Generation of the Void, they will get the love and respect they deserve from around the world. This is simply how it's done. Now we have Primal Fear with Domination. Somehow, someway, Primal Fear has been around for 28 years and have now just released their 15th album. Even more shocking, they may have put out their best album to date. Every time I spin this one, it gets more infectious and it hits you even harder. The album has everything you want from the band, from full guns blazing power metal to arena rock style mid-tempo stompers, and even some ballads to balance things out. What makes this album work is the execution. There's a new fire in this band that has been rejuvenated, and you just don't expect that from a band that's been around for almost 30 years. Granted, a big part of that is the new lineup, but that is not the only reason. The band went out of their way to make the best music possible before the lineup was even finalized, and you can tell this is an album where they are proving that they are still here to stay. Everyone shines in some way on this one, and I can only imagine how insane it would be to hear these songs in the proper live setting. This could be the best Primal Fear album to date. If you think this album is good, I can't wait for the next one when the band truly shows off what this new lineup is capable of. Until then, Primal Fear continues to, well, dominate. Sorry for the pun. Next up, we have The Rods with Wild Dogs Unchained. 11 songs and 46 years into this band's legacy, and they continue to age like fine wine. This album has everything you love about that classic heavy metal sound, from the monster ballads to the mid-tempo stompers to its fast songs. This is a loving tribute to what the band has always been about, but just updated for 2025. The production is crystal clear and everyone shines throughout this one. All 10 songs sing loud and proud, whether it's songs about needless war, Car Named Hurricane, or simply rock and roll. The fact that they are still making music this good after all this time is a true sight to behold. Give this one a shot if you enjoyed the classics but want it modernized just enough. I can't imagine you'd be disappointed. Next up is Speed Queen with a Bang. The debut album from this Belgian band is heavy metal personified. Every aspect of the genre is here on full display, and it's everything you want it to be. The production is vintage sounding but still has this bit of modern touch to it, and the songwriting will remind you of the classics like Motorhead, Maiden, Exciter, but with this revival metal nuances of bands like Venator, Enforcer, and at least early day Skullfist. 10 tracks, 40.5 minutes of pure, unadulterated classic metal. If you love the genre, you need a band like Speed Queen in your life. You are truly missing out if you don't check them out. And finally, for brand new albums out today, we have Still in Love with Recovery Language. The debut album from this UK hardcore band is quite impressive, but that shouldn't be a shock. Featuring a lineup of members of Bring Me the Horizon, Dead Swans, Throats, Brutality Will Prevail, and Last Witness, this band knows the genre well, and they are able to put their own herbs and spices into the mix to create a one-of-a-kind hardcore sound. The production is stellar, especially for the genre, and the songwriting is filled with fury that you can only get in hardcore. This album goes hard at 8 songs and under a half hour long, making this the perfect opening set to see live. Hardcore has been hit or miss for me this year, but sometimes it takes a true earnest approach for me to appreciate it. That's what Still in Love has accomplished, and it'll still leave you wanting more. And isn't that exactly what you want in a hardcore band? And now for everything that I missed, starting off with Arcadia, with Exodus of Gravity. The sophomore album from this Atlanta band featuring Bron Daler is an experience unlike any other that I'm familiar with. Drums, keys, synths, and vocals make up this entire album, and it truly makes it feel like it lives up to the album's title. It feels like there's a true absence of what we know. Everything is backwards and out of place, which brings in chaos and, oddly enough, clarity. The music is so catchy with its hooks, but it feels so strange with no guitar or bass guitars on this album. The lyrics feel abstract, though the more you listen, the more everything starts to sync together. The fact that it feels so futuristic but relevant at the same time is no easy thing to achieve, but it's done here in a way that is so satisfying to the ears and leaves you wanting more. At 12 tracks and almost 50 minutes, it takes you on a full-blown journey and leaves you right where you started. This will not be for everyone, but for those who are wanting something just a little left to the center of what you normally listen to, and it can still grab your attention, check out what Arcadia is doing with Exodus of Gravity. Now we have Confession by Silence with Repentance in Time. The third album from this German outfit is my first foray into the band, and it's a phenomenal experience. Hearing elements of melodeath and metalcore and even some progressive metal mixed in with some rich keyboard-driven symphonic sounds, and it just simply works. The presentation is stellar and the songwriting is deep and inspired, and the musicianship on hand shows the band knows when to go heavy and when to go proggy and when to go majestic. At 12 songs, this is just about 46 minutes long. This has everything I could ask for in its sound and somehow continues to give with every repeated listen. If you want a familiar but brand new musical experience in the melodeath, metalcore, symphonic metal, and progressive metal sounds, check out Confession by Silence. Now we have Corridor, or Corridore, I'm not entirely sure, with Abandon. The sophomore album from this Wisconsin band is quite the experience, and I am loving what I'm hearing. Mixing the post-rock and post-metal sound with just enough black metal elements to not be full-on post-black, but it's also not that far off from it, and it makes it very unique. The production is raw, like you would imagine in atmospheric black metal, but not unlistenable. It can be very intuitive. The songwriting feels like a mix of Inter Arma and Nothing if they started a band and wanted to make it more blackened. At 5 songs and almost 41 minutes, this is the type of post-metal that a fan can appreciate on the black metal side of things, or a black metal fan can appreciate this for the post-rock and shoegaze side, all while sounding different than what you typically hear in post-black. If that's for you, you need to see what this band is all about. Now we have Cruel Bomb with their self-titled debut. The debut album from this Pennsylvania band is a remarkable display of what thrash metal still can be in 2025. While maintaining a core sound of legendary thrash, it begins things with just enough of a power trip style hardcore feel that makes the music feel so much more intense. The production punches you with its low end and leaves you wanting more. This is an album that does not let up its momentum. It's either fast or faster. At 12 tracks and just a little over 34 minutes, this is the kind of album that makes you feel like it should be played in its entirety live before you see one of the legends of thrash play. Also, it's one of my personal favorite album artworks of the year. If you want a band that channels Nuclear Assault, SOD, Slayer, and Power Trip, check out Cruel Bomb. Next up is Designer Disguise with Colder Blue. Now this is a very intriguing album to me. The third album from the Seattle band is something that instantly grabbed my attention for reasons I already dug, and for new ideas I've never seen explored in such a way. There is this 2010s to 2020s metalcore style going on through and through, but they will incorporate elements of pop, jazz, hip-hop, and other elements to make this one of the most accessible albums of a heavier genre I've heard in a very long time. This is 100% not for everyone, but it does have a little something for everyone of the mainstream styles, if that makes sense. The production is stellar and the songwriting is just earworm after earworm. For those who normally check out my list, proceed with caution. For those that don't normally check out my list because I cover too heavy of music, check this one out and see if it can be an entryway into those heavier side of things. You just may be surprised by what you hear. Now we have Eden Circus with Erleicht, or Erlicht, I'm not entirely sure. The sophomore album from this German outfit hits a sweet spot of musical taste that I've loved since the late 2000s and have been searching for ever since. This blend of prog, alternative, and the right amount of post-rock makes for an atmospheric that you just can't see in other bands. The production can be a little muddy at times, but it fits right with a cool atmosphere, especially when the music does get cleaner and punchier. Musically, it feels like a conglomeration of bands like Porcupine Tree, Riverside, Caligula's Horse, and especially Carnival. While there are bands that maintain this sound now, and always have, it always sounds great to me, and I'm so happy that there's bands like this out there, and I can never get enough of it. If you're like me and need this style of prog, alternative, and post in your life, see what Eden Circus has in store for you. Now we have Imperial Crystalline Entombment, or ICE, with Abominable Astral Summoning. The third album from this Maryland band sounds like an album that was made at the summit of Mount Everest, not in the USA. And I mean that in the best way, as this album feels like the true horrors of being in the Scandinavian mountains, the winters, the blizzards, and the horrors that will come from a glacial apocalypse, which is entirely possible with global warming and climate change happening. The production is just raw enough, but it can still hit hard, especially in the bass drums. But yes, this album feels like a pure Scandinavian black metal album made in 1995 in all the right ways. Immortal, Marduk, Dark Funeral, 1349, it's all here in strides. And it's great to hear that sound represented so well in 2025. As the temperature starts to drop in the northern hemisphere, the snow will be arriving at some point. Use this album to cool off from the hot summer right before we're about to be buried by icy snow that is sure to come. Now we have In Mourning with The Immortal. In Mourning is one of the most underappreciated bands in metal. They wrote my favorite ballad of all time, Celestial Tear, back in 2012 on the album The Weight of Oceans, and they've continued to make some phenomenal music in the process up to this day. 2025 In Mourning is much different from 2012 In Mourning, but that is in no way a bad thing. The band is exploring more progressive and melodeath moments with the right amount of raspy gothic cleans to make you want to shed tears every time I hear this. Hearing both sides of the band come to fruition with The Immortal is making this one of my favorite albums from the band since The Weight of Oceans, if not one of my favorite albums of the year. To make things even better, Cornelius Althammer of Ahab is now a full member of the band, and if you thought his drumming was powerful in Ahab, which it truly is, just wait till you hear what he can do here with In Mourning. The production is exactly what it needs to be, and the music is a tearjerker after another tearjerker. If you want a band that can channel their inner insomnium, In Vain, Swallow the Sun, Amorphous, and Catatonia, you need, and I mean it, you need In Mourning. Now we have Irony of Inertia with The 11th Moon. The debut album from this Finnish band combines the best of gothic death doom in its longer forms and the best of mellow black in its shorter tracks to create a one-of-a-kind experience that just gets better on every repeated listen. While the production is a bit unpolished, that also adds to the charm of the album, as it is quite dark and it goes through many emotional moments. At 5 songs and a little over 40 minutes, this feels like a mammoth album to get through due to its track lengths, with some songs being very long and some being much shorter, but if you love those genres, it is more than worth the trip. In what feels like a whirlwind of sounds from bands like October Tide, Morgu, Dissection, and Nagelfar, give Irony of Inertia a proper spin. Next up is a name I'm absolutely going to butcher, and I deeply apologize for it, Izzy Leal with Moonbow Rebellion. The sophomore album from this Japanese outfit is a phenomenal display of symphonic metal done with a worldwide appeal, and I do mean worldwide. Some elements are tailor-made for the Eastern audiences for fans of Versailles, more traditional heavy metal elements of bands like Stratovarius and Nightwish for the Scandinavian sound, and some more Western modern metal elements of bands like Killswitch Engage, but there's also so many other flavors I'm not even going to mention here because I want you to discover them on your own. It's unlike a lot of music that you typically hear, but it is more than worthy of your time. 9 songs, almost 45.5 minutes. This is an album that is made for the pure love of music, and there's no greater endorsement that I could possibly give. Seriously, expand your horizons. Give this one a shot. Next up, we have Manigarm with Edsveren, arguably my favorite straight-up Viking metal band in the more traditional sense. This legendary band has returned for their 30th anniversary and their 11th album, and it is a powerhouse of an album. Everything you expect from the band is here, from the heroic Norse metal sound to the extreme black metal elements to folk metal sections. That just gives everything that right kind of authenticity. The production will pulverize you, the songwriting is fresh and inspired, even after all these years of songwriting behind them. When I hear hear Viking metal, this is the kind of band that I think of, and for good reason. If you enjoy the likes of Tearfang, Moonsorrow, and Bathory, especially the folk metal era of Bathory, this is one that you need to check out in 2025. Now we have Medieval Demon with All Powers of Darkness. The 5th album in 27 years from this long-running Greek band feels like the vampiric black metal that we should all be graced by in 2025. It's dark, evil, and somehow entrancing and romantic, just like a good vampire theme should be. The production is closer to the raw side of things, and it can be cavernous at times, but everything is very audible and clear, and it can even get super grand in the right spots, making it very, very dynamic. The songwriting is fully inspired and transports you into this era in the most haunting of ways. If you enjoy the likes of Rotting Christ, Cradle of Filth, and just vampiric elements in general, you owe it to yourself to check out Medieval Demon. Now we have Panzerchrist with Maleficium Part 2. One of the very first bands that I ever heard on the extreme end of things of metal have returned with their 10th album, and it's everything I ever could have wanted. Having missed out on Part 1 before I could review it last year, I'm so glad I could catch Part 2 now, in time, as this thing is the war-induced blackened death metal that I love so much from the band. The blast beats sound like Gatling guns, the riffs drop like missiles, and the vocals come off so evil sounding, it feels like you're in the midst of the hell known as war. While I would recommend starting with Part 1, Part 2 is the perfect companion album and continues this horrific journey in all the right ways. If you somehow never heard Panzerchrist, but you love the likes of Belphegor, Behemoth, Vader, then you need to remedy this immediately. Check out what Panzerchrist has in store for you. Now we have Slow Crush with Thirst. The 3rd album from this UK band is my first foray into the band, but I am instantly won over. Taking what makes shoegaze so wonderful to listen to and adding this super heavy layer on top of it, in a way it's in a league of its own. Too light to be post-metal, too heavy to be post-rock. It's that right balance of all of these things to create a sound that is catchy as it is devastating. The production is top-notch and the songwriting is so emotionally driven, it will leave you with a punch to the gut by the time that you are done. If you enjoy the likes of My Bloody Valentine, Nothing, and even Deftones, you are sure to find something to love about Slow Crush. It's outstanding from beginning to end. Now we have Sotana with Onos 2. This Finnish band's 4th album and 2nd chapter in Onos continues right where 2023's Onos 1 leaves you, though this time it feels like things are even more on the heavier side of things. The production hits you like a ton of bricks, the songwriting is endlessly catchy, and it hits you in all the right spots. The musicianship is off the charts in its quality. The band continues to improve with every subsequent album, and that's not going to stop anytime soon. This is for anyone who enjoys the likes of Norther, Brimir, Kalma, and Children of Bodom. If that's for you, you need to get into Sotana now. When it comes to Melodeath and Power Metal combined, this may be the best album of that genre in 2025. Now we have Unen, or it could be Unin. It has the little thing over the E, so I really don't want to get it wrong. The debut album from this Finnish outfit is such an incredible display of genres and songwriting. While the songs have this underlying base of pop and modern influences, it is marred by its gothic metal elements and the occasional proggy elements that you simply won't see coming, making for a fusion that makes this whole album exciting to listen to from beginning to end. If you want a band that knows how to channel their inner Within Temptation, Evergrey, and dare I say, even some hints of Dream Theater, this may be the band for you, especially as we're entering the autumn and winter times. Now we have We Came as Romans with All Is Beautiful Because We Are Doomed. Another band that's been around since the late 2000s that I simply just never heard till this year. It's been 20 years since their inception, and this is their 7th album since 2009, and I'm enjoying what I am hearing. While the band is clearly doing more of the 2020s metalcore sound now, which incorporates more radio-friendly passages, electronic moments, and other herbs and spices, I think this is a combination that truly works. It's super catchy, it's balanced out by crushing moments that make everything so dynamic and enjoyable. Considering the numbers they have online, I can only assume that this is on the FM radio or at least Sirius XM side of things, and good on them for doing so. They fit the prerogative and they deserve to be heard by the masses. The production is polished to the nth degree, and the songwriting is meant to be as catchy and dynamic as possible. If you're like me and never heard the band until now, at least in their current state, and you enjoy the likes of Miss May I, Asking Alexandria, I Prevail, and Architects, you should dig what We Came as Romans is all about. If you want that more mainstream sound but still be heavy enough, this should be right for you. And finally today, we end things with Woe Is Me with Daybreak. In all fairness, I could put much of what I just said about We Came as Romans here, and a lot of it would still read the same. This is a band that's been around since 2010. I've always heard the name, but I've never actually checked them out until this year. And again, I'm pleasantly won over by what I'm hearing. But there are some huge differences between the two. This is the band's third album, and they have this fine line of sound, whether they hit the uber heavy metalcore sound, near gent style, almost deathcore at times. But they also know how to kick it into the mainstream with poppy rockin' vocals. They also incorporate this more electronic and pop elements, and somehow even country elements as well, as shocking as that might sound. The fact that this band can go this heavy, putting bands like After the Burial to shame, while balancing out with moments that'll make any mainstream rock, pop, and country fan swoon, is no easy thing to accomplish. I like a band that can speak to both sides of the heavy equation and knows when to be catchy and when to make the pit break open. The production is so solid and punchy, and it makes for this auditory experience that's worth checking out. If you enjoy A Day to Remember, Dreamwake, Fit for a King, and yeah, We Came as Romans, check out Woe Is Me. And there you go, folks, another 30 albums down for Out Today and What I Missed, this time for September 5th, 2025. What do you think? Did I cover some good albums, some bad albums? Anything you're going to check out? Anything you're going to steer clear of? Anything that I might have missed? And I know there's plenty that I've missed, and hopefully I'll be covering those in the upcoming months. But still, let me know down below. And of course, like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I can't believe I've covered 770 albums so far this year, and I'm still not anywhere near done. And I really hope that you've been checking this out, whether this is your first time checking out what I do or you've been keeping track all year. But until next week, when we get into Out Today and What I Missed for September 12th, 2025, this is Josh Ronquist for the Heavy Debriefings YouTube channel saying, embrace the skullet.